This is my newest addition to the collection, my 1988 Nt650. In the last video I took it out for a ride, but I wanted to give you guys a real first impression of what it's like to ride this bike. I've rode this bike about 100 miles or so now, and each one of those miles has been fantastic, and I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my first 100-mile experience with the bike, riding it for about a week or so now, and really what it's like, because it's a fantastic motorcycle all around. Gear on, let the bike warm up for a second. I was having a little bit of an issue with this bike, and the issue was actually that we're running out of gas. So we'll do a quick run to the gas station and top it up, because I do want to ride the bike a little bit. First impressions of riding this bike, and just overall riding impressions. I put about 100 miles, 73 miles since I zeroed it out, but realistically I've put a little bit more than that, probably about 30 more miles. So about 100 miles of ownership with this bike and experience with it, and it is such an amazing machine. I mean, it truly is. This is going to be one of my favorite bikes to ride. Just, I immediately connected with the bike and my riding style. Not only does it sound amazing, responsive, like all those things, because it does have that aftermarket jet kit on it, aftermarket intake on it, aftermarket exhaust on it, which makes it sound really good. But also, it's just snappy. I mean, super responsive, right? The throttle feel is amazing, and not only that, but the bike, this is one of the best handling bikes that I have ever ridden. And that, I mean, that's a pretty big statement for me to say, because I own, 30 motorcycles, probably rode maybe 15, 20 different machines at this point in time, and this bike is so confidence inspiring. I mean, truly. It truly is so easy to ride. This is a really good beginner bike. A lot of people ask me, on my videos about certain motorcycles, is that a good beginner bike? Should I get that as my first bike? And most of the time, I say the answer is no, because a lot of the bikes I do have aren't really beginner friendly. That, or they're so rare that as a beginner, there's no point in buying a bike like that. But when it comes to this bike, I mean, I have nothing bad to say about it. They're rare. They're beginning to be vintage in their own right. But it's such an easy machine to ride. I mean, if you just take a corner, it wants to take it so well. This is the bike I've got the most angle with on all the bikes I've ever rode. I can get the most angle on this bike right here. I'm just gonna fill this up real quick so I don't run out of gasoline. Let's top this thing up. We can test the fuel mileage, fuel economy on it now too. Zero this thing out. Now, I have struggled making this video. This is like my third or fourth time making the video, because I have just one big thing to say about it. It handles so phenomenal. That light doesn't work. Oh, there we go. This bike has handled itself incredible throughout the ownership that I've had it. Not only has it not overheated, not only has it just performed amazingly, it's so easy to ride. I mean, really, the simplicity of this motorcycle and its ability to be so confident, inspiring as a rider. This is the simplest, easiest motorcycle I have ever rode. Let me show you guys on a couple corners. I'm not a MotoGP rider or a superbike rider or an experienced track rider or anything. I've gone on the track once in my life, and it was a medium lap, not even a hot lap. It was a medium lap. But this bike inspires so much confidence. You feel like you can do anything with the bike. It doesn't feel like it's going to be too heavy. It doesn't feel like it's going to kick you out. It doesn't feel like you're about to fall over. The balance of this bike is so good.
I mean, that's crazy that I can get that much angle so easily out of this machine. And I think a lot of it has to do with how compact this bike is. If you look right here, it wants to lean to the left a little bit. I don't know if that's because of the swing arm being on the left side, or if that's simply because my forks need to be resealed. But the one thing I want you to notice is how skinny the bike is. My knees are like right next to each other. They're almost touching. It's such a skinny and low to the ground bike. It's so simple, so seemingly flawless to ride. We'll hit a back road in just a second here. But you guys might be looking at the temperature gauge like, yo, nah, the bike's still cold. But that's actually how the temperature gauge stays. Unless you're in traffic and going low speeds, when you do get to 35 plus miles per hour, it'll stay there because of how much air the motor's taking in. And it's also not very hot outside, so that probably helps with it a little bit. But because the motor is slightly air cooled as well, it's air and water cooled because of how open the machine is, it doesn't really get hot. And I mean, it can probably survive some pretty hot temperatures. I'm probably going to do a coolant flush all the fluids out one time, do some basic maintenance on the machine, get it back up to tip-top shape. The front brake does feel slightly spongy, might have to do some new pads. But just with first impressions and based off of the couple of things that I've said so far, I think you guys can get an idea of how much I actually like riding this thing. It's addicting, it really is. You just want to go and just put this bike into some corners. Not a lot of bikes that I've owned and ridden are like that. Now this is still a semi-vintage bike. This is an 88. Got some loose gravel here. This is an 88, so it's not new by any means. But it has that old bike character that I think some of the new bikes do lack and they're trying to replicate. While this still has that character, while this bike still wants to get up and go like my modern day machines, my fuel injected bikes. It is carbureted, 2 carburetors. Now I'm probably gonna say the same things over and over again about this machine and how easy and simple and nimble it is, but there's nothing really else to say about it. It has good power. The V-twin sounds amazing. All the Hawk people that I've seen on the forums and everything, everyone kind of brags about how good this bike handles. The Super Hawk came after this. I believe the Super Hawk was a 750 or 1000. And a lot of people's complaint, people who have rode both this and the Super Hawk, after riding both bikes, they say that the Super Hawk is too heavy and that this bike is so much more nimble and simple to ride. And I think these bikes are kind of slept on. I bought this bike for under $3,000. I think I got a good deal on this bike. If you had $3,000 to spend on this bike, you could probably get yourself a pretty nice example and have a whole lot of fun. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're a seasoned rider, whatever the case may be, pretty much anyone can have fun on this bike. You can take it slow, you can learn on it, you can go blast around the corners and just have a wonderful time, cruise around town. It does everything that a motorcycle should. If you were to have a one motorcycle garage and this was to be your only motorcycle, as was the case with the previous owner of this machine, I don't think you'd really be begging for more. Now, because I have such a diverse collection, it would be hard for me to choose a specific one like I was saying. But as far as a riding perspective goes, in my riding style, just every now and then bringing a motorcycle out. Nowadays it's kind of daily, but I don't daily ride. I don't use motorcycles as transportation. I use them for fun. I use them to take around and just enjoy riding. This bike would suit that really well. Like, if this was my only bike, I could definitely see myself not complaining for more. I've rode a couple of my other bikes this weekend. It was Super Bike weekend. Got a bunch of thumbs up on this bike. I took the BMW out on the track. But really, now that I'm riding this a day after Super Bike weekend, I don't, after still 100 miles, and I'm sure this is going to be the case after riding it more, I don't wish for more out of this bike. Everyone who I've let ride it has come to the same consensus that it's such a good bike. I have nothing bad to say about it. I really have nothing bad to say about it. And for the most part, I can always come in with something that I dislike or distaste about the motorcycle. Something that can either be a small modification or a big modification. And I will say the one thing is only specific to this bike that I think I would prefer the other way, is the clip-ons. You guys can see here, the clip-ons are underneath the triple tree here. I kind of wish they were on top. The previous owner was a little taller than I was, 2-3 inches taller. He was a big guy. I fit really well on this bike. He was a little too big for it, I think. I wish the bike was kind of here. I'm going to try putting it back to stock because I do have the stock parts, and we'll see what I like better. I think I'm going to like the stock clip-on location just a tad better than where they are right now. My back gets a little tired leaning so far over the bike, and like I said, it is a smaller bike. But with all of those things being said, that's kind of my first impressions with the Hawk, a little bit about my opinions with the bike, and overall so far ownership after a week with the machine. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave me a like, subscribe, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.